Afternoon. I'm Donna Robertson. I'm on the College of Nursing faculty at East Carolina University, and it is my honor and privilege to introduce to you Kayla Thompson. Kayla is a third-year graduate student at Duke University, and she is pursuing a dual degree, her MD with an MBA. I think that's probably a very smart move. And she is interested in studying ways to improve access to quality, affordable health care. Kayla?
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for being here and hanging around. It's been an awesome day. Like Donna mentioned, my name is Kayla Thompson. I'm a dual degree graduate student at Duke. I recently just completed my MBA this month and will be heading into my 4th year of medical school, so the end is in sight. I've had the wonderful opportunity to be part of a Duke Bass Connections interdisciplinary research team. So I've worked with clinicians, undergraduate students, and graduate students from across the university on this project. And today I'm really excited to share our findings on the financial health of people living with dementia and their informal care partners, our mixed methods study. So as background, we know that dementia is a significant cost from a health system perspective, with over $300 billion being spent annually on dementia by the United States healthcare system. Additionally, we've also recently begun to hear more about this concept of financial toxicity, particularly as it relates to the cancer population. However, there's little research on financial toxicity in other health disparities populations, particularly the dementia population. And given that populations experiencing health disparities often face limited access to health care, employment discrimination, income inequality, and higher burdens of disease, we expect that this exacerbates financial toxicity. Therefore, our research set out to characterize financial toxicity among older adults with dementia and their care partners using a mixed methods approach. So our aims for the study were threefold. On the quantitative side, we first wanted to explore the existing body of evidence via a comprehensive scoping review. Additionally, we aimed to adapt and deploy a survey to characterize the degree and magnitude of financial toxicity. For the purposes of our study, we focused on dyads as the unit of analysis, which we defined as a person living with dementia and their primary care partner. On the qualitative side, we hoped to shed light on the experiences of people living with dementia through images of how dementia has affected their financial well-being through a method known as photo voice. We chose this mixed methods approach because of the complex nature of financial toxicity in the dementia population. Financial toxicity can impact multiple domains of life, including behavioral, psychosocial, and material. And we felt that we needed this mixed methods approach in order to really comprehensively characterize it. Ultimately, the goal is to integrate both the quantitative and qualitative data together via the pillar integration process. But for the purposes of this talk, I'll focus primarily on our photo voice method and results, which I'll dive into now. So all of our study team members had the opportunity to receive formal training on this new and creative photo voice method. And over a series of 7 weekly sessions, we met with our participants via Zoom. One participant was living with younger onset Alzheimer's disease, one was living with younger onset frontotemporal dementia, and both were participating with their spousal care partners. After introducing the participants to the photo voice process, the study team gave the participants prompts that would stimulate photo taking. For example, one of the prompts was, take photos that reflect financial changes and challenges you've experienced. Participants were encouraged to present their photos to the group, and this discussion included descriptions of why they took the photo, what the photo says about their life, and what their experience was like when they were taking the photo. Participants then collaborated with the study team to write titles and captions for each of the photos, and our study team synthesized takeaways from the discussions in order to group the photos into themes that best reflected the conversations we'd had. So from our photos and discussions with the participants, we gleaned 6 major themes. I'll dive more into each of these themes, as well as share a few key photos that kind of best represent the themes. So first is go home and get your affairs in order. After the dementia diagnosis, many couples felt as if they were given a death sentence with no direction on where to go for resources or support. They were kind of left to figure out the diagnosis, their finances, and their future paths all on their own. These photos here represent how alone and lost the participants felt after receiving the diagnosis and being told by providers to go home and get their affairs in order. While previously leading active lives filled with meaningful relationships, professions, and activities, the couples had to begin a new journey of living with dementia. These photos here tell the story of one of our participants. She adored her grandfather, who was a trucker, and she was so excited when she was finally able to buy a truck and do long hauls across the US. But soon after that, she was diagnosed with dementia. So the second photo captures her crying on the bathroom floor. Uncertainty about how Uncertainty about how dementia will unfold leaves the couples feeling lost, as if they're living in a great unknown. They wonder how much money they'll need for care and what financial planning they need to do to protect their futures. They're given no direction by their healthcare providers on what resources are available or where to turn for help. Prioritizing and budgeting, they know, is really important, but the uncertainty is what makes it a challenge to know what to spend money on and how much to save. As they continue the journey, the couples have had to make many hard financial decisions. People living with dementia aren't just living with dementia, but often other chronic diseases as well. They have to make choices about how much to spend on other healthcare treatments and how to prioritize different types of care. Home safety features are also important investments, but with only one home modification waiver available to them, couples often have to choose which features they can and can't live without. One couple had to choose between a bathtub remodel or a chairlift for their home. Couples are often left to their own devices to protect their financial futures. They've tried new budgeting strategies like investing in home gym equipment so that they can cancel their gym memberships, or cutting back on entertainment subscriptions, or even having care partners return to work after already retiring. And finally, connecting with others living with the disease and other caregivers provides hope for their future. Newfound relationships represent a safe and reliable space about learning how to live with dementia and planning for the future. Following one participant's diagnosis, she and her care partner took matters into their own hands, which led them to a conference in Indianapolis where they discovered new technologies that could afford them new independence in daily life. And they also made lifelong connections with others in the same boat. So as we saw in our study, a large part of the financial burden for families living with dementia comes not from the medical bills or the cost of care alone, but rather the lack of information available about resources or how to navigate the journey. The photo voice discussions ultimately led to recommendations directly from the participants on priority areas for healthcare professionals, policymakers, and leaders to think about. One, it may be helpful for people living with dementia to have access to a database of state-by-state financial resources. Healthcare professionals having training opportunities to learn more about available financial resources may allow them to serve as better allies to people living with dementia. Improving coordination among key stakeholders, as well as creating patient navigation materials, may also reduce the financial burden that older adults with dementia and their care partners face. So our next steps include sharing the photos and findings that we've gathered throughout our research. And we've already had the great opportunity to share our research with the broader Duke community at the Basque Connections Showcase, but we're looking forward to setting up presentations with other community-based organizations to share our findings. We'll also continue to move forward on the other quantitative aspects of our project, which I'll touch on briefly. So first, we did create a survey, and we did so by adapting several validated instruments. And specifically, we focused on reframing the questions to focus on dyads of people living with dementia and their care partners rather than individual patients, because we understand that dementia is a disease that really affects the care unit. Our survey captures demographic data, out-of-pocket costs, and cost-coping strategies. Our recruitment plan currently includes recruiting dyads through several local, regional, and national organizations focused on dementia patients and their care partners. While our goal is to recruit 100 dyads, the responses have been slow, so we're looking forward to revising the recruitment strategy and moving forward at a later time. As for the literature review, this also remains in progress. Our team successfully completed a title and abstract screen of almost 5,000 titles and abstracts, and a full text review of 137 articles is in progress. So in summary, there are really three main takeaways from our research project thus far. First, we've seen the power of photo voice in illuminating challenges of complex chronic medical conditions such as dementia. In addition, for families living with dementia, financial struggles extend far beyond just medical bills or the cost of care alone, and it really begins with diagnosis and the uncertainty surrounding what financial resources are actually available and how to navigate them. And finally, helping families navigate the financial journey after diagnosis and educating healthcare professionals on available resources may be important steps towards improving the patient experience. I'd like to acknowledge the rest of my Bass Connections team. This is really a team effort and could not have happened without them. I'd also like to acknowledge the couples who participated in the Photo Voice experience and allowed us the privilege of an inside look into their personal lives. So thanks so much for your time. Happy to take any questions.
Hi, love to use photo voice. I'm an anthropologist, so very into it. I was curious though, we know that after diagnosis and especially as the illness progresses, that the relationship between spouses, who I'm assuming were most of your participants, changes pretty substantially. And we also know obviously that financial responsibility may change as well, depending on the base state. So I was curious if you've looked at all at differences in what photos the person who's living with dementia chooses versus the care partner, or had them take separate photos, or any way to disaggregate the dyad.
Yeah, great question. So for our small sample size, we actually did have each person take photos separately, both the patient with dementia and their care partner, and then looked at them separately, and then also had them take photos together. So those were some unique aspects. But we also plan to conduct another photo voice study with care partners alone, because I think that'll be a novel experience as well.
Thanks for your talk. And a little separate from your talk, I hope there's not many doctors out there telling people with early diagnosis to go home and put your affairs in order. Just this conference itself, I listened or saw a poster that you should learn 3 new things. A language and an instrument, of course. It's not easy doing that, but stimulate your brain. So I'm hoping the national ADRCs takes it upon themselves to spread the word to all doctors out there. I know some don't have good bedside manners, but
Hopefully that won't be me.
I think I project.
Okay.
So because you're getting the dual degree of an MD and an MBA, so I'll ask you to kind of put your MBA hat on for opportunities that you see for, I think that this is clearly for couples at the dining room table, this is becoming an increasing discussion and challenge, the financial toxicity associated with a diagnosis of dementia, which we're increasingly able to make earlier and earlier in the course. So the good news is people have longer to plan and think about it. Bad news is there's not a lot of obvious solutions right now. What do you see as some of the most promising? Because I truly believe that this will be addressed in some way or the other. I have lots of fears about how it could be addressed, because I think that the private sector will address the financial potential challenges of living with dementia in ways that serve those who who in some ways are more advantaged to begin with. Do you see, with your MBA hat on, big picture strategies for society that are likely to address for couples facing a diagnosis of dementia to reduce that financial toxicity?
Yeah, thanks for the question. I will start off by saying if I had the answer, then perhaps someone smarter than me would have also had the answer and it would have been fixed already, but I'll take my best shot at it. I do think that right now a lot of financial investment in caring for dementia patients has gone into assisted living facilities and really focused on resources for patients outside of the home. But this project has highlighted how much investment needs to be done in providing financial support for people still living at home with their care partners. And we've been able to see that there are a lot of changes to the house that need to be made, for example. So lots of opportunities to support people in the home by either like constructing homes that patients and their families can live in that are accessible for them, or even subsidizing home like modifications. That was something that one of our care partners talked about, of just the difficulties of getting contractors that were willing to make these modifications at an affordable rate. And so I think that there's some opportunity for the government to invest there, but there's definitely needs to be a shift in mindset of like, where are we investing money? It shouldn't just be on like the medical costs and the cost of care, but just like, how do we find a way for these couples to live at home, because they are getting their diagnoses really early. Like you mentioned, one of our couples has been diagnosed for several years at this point and is having to think about a long-term trajectory of how can they afford staying in their homes. I think that is like a really crucial area for the private sector to look into.